to order. So we changed things up a little bit from our regular agenda order just to try and do things a little differently. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes. I want to defer action on the January minutes, but I think we can proceed with approval of the December minutes. Does anybody have any changes or corrections? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve them as rendered.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Oh, I didn't bring
I should note that two of our commissioners are absent. One called in sick, and the other had an unexpected business conflict. Okay, next item is on the agenda is public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing no members of the public, we then proceed to liaison reports. Start with our ranking member,
Thank you.
our first selectman.
Wow.
Thank you. Well,
Jeez, thank you.
it's not Congress, sorry.
Thank you. I want to thank the chief for his budget presentation. Did a good job on the operating budget. The Board of Selectmen is meeting a week from tomorrow to begin to work on the budget, to make budget recommendations to the Board of Finance. Right now, we are at an 8.2% increase overall, if we did nothing.
With all the requests
All
from
the
the
asks,
various.
correct. Yep.
Does that include Board of Ed?
Mhm.
Does that include Amity?
Mhm. As presented, yes, as asked, yep. They're at 1.8. I can't remember, don't quote me. But yes. So we have a meeting this Wednesday, regular Board of Selectmen meeting. And that's about it. So you don't have any funding requests, right?
I will have a line item
For
transfer.
Wednesday?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, I didn't see it in there. You will have it, okay.
we will have it.
Okay, okay, thanks.
No problem.
But
I think it's important to say with the budget, talking about the budget, we also have some of the trucks in there this year, even though we ordered engine three, the first payment's not due next fiscal year, it'd be probably due the year after, so depending on what they want to do, that payment may have to come out, but that won't affect us. If that makes sense.
Right, so yeah, there's a,
So
Right.
when you look at the
put in
8%, we may have
You're not at 8, it's the whole-
500,000. Yeah, we may
Yeah.
have,
no, but we have, but
Taxes
there's,
Taxes will go up 8%. We
Right.
gave
But there's
everybody
a-
what they wanted.
right.
but in our capital budget, there's a substantial expense for
Right.
truck payments that probably won't, depending on how the payment is structured,
Correct.
they probably won't be needed in this coming fiscal year.
Unless we want to fund it, unless they want to fund it.
Right.
Right,
Right, and so we put it in there
Right.
because it is an upcoming expense, but, which gives the Board of Finance could reserve that money if they chose, or if the payment vehicle, I mean, typically we do, these are lease purchase agreements that are paid in arrears, so the first payment isn't due for a year after. I mean, I know you know this, but
Yeah.
the first payment isn't due until a year after we take delivery of the truck, which will not be until not this coming fiscal year,
correct.
but
As long
most
as it
likely the
stays in the
following.
budget,
Yep.
because as I think it's important, we've talked about this, it's very important that these stay there as placeholders, so we don't forget about them. Even if we put it out a year.
The problem is if we put the truck payment in the year we actually pay for it, it looks like we're not asking for the vehicle until that year. So
Well, that has
even
to
though
be
we need to
explained,
order
right,
it now,
right.
we won't pay for
Right.
it for
I
actually
understand.
2 years out.
Exactly, yep.
So
So-
that's why we're all on the same
Yep.
page.
Yep,
So when we look at the budget going up, part of it is us. but it's based on that, which, even though we have
And I
trucks
think
in
you had a
there.
couple things in your capital budget that also had to be done. One of them was one of the truck payments, and there was a couple other things, I think,
And
in
the
your
air
capital.
bags.
Yeah,
Yep.
that we have to
That we
pay
have to
those.
do.
Those are given, so
Yep.
those will be funded, absolutely.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, hello.
Hey, Liz. Sorry I'm late.
No, we just started.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it?
Yeah, just thank you.
Okay, and now our Board of Finance liaison?
And I will also reiterate, it was a good presentation, and the Board of Finance is looking and struggling with that 8% increase, which we don't think is possible, and we're just gonna have to figure out, waiting for the selectmen to figure out what they wanna do, and then tackle it as well. There's a lot of important things out there.
One of our recurring issues, and just so you're
I'm new,
aware.
So, yeah.
But-
I'm new, so please
Yeah,
make me aware.
so we'll talk about it when we get to the operating budget, is that we typically overspend the repair and maintenance line for the apparatus. Because it's hard to predict.
Right.
And so, and we just want to be clear, that's not a reflection of poor planning on our part. We make a budget request for what we think is an appropriate amount, and, sometimes the repairs come in even over our requested amount, but it's often cut back aboard in the budget process. And so then we're over what's been allocated and over what we asked for.
Right.
So it's not because we're being irresponsible with the town's money. It's because there are emergency repairs that need to be made to keep the vehicles
You can only
ready.
predict that much of maintenance. I think we
Right.
all understand that.
Right. But we can't predict what will
Certain things you
happen
know,
if it's cut too far back. So and we are certainly sympathetic with the task ahead of you.
This can be tough because, as you know, I'm new on the Board of Finance, and when people hear I'm on the Board of Finance, the number one question I get is how are you going to make sure that my taxes aren't raised?
Sure.
And oh, by the way, I want these services. You know, so
Well, that's
That's the
the
that's the
dilemma
balancing
for
act,
us.
and we're just going to have to do
I
the
want
best we
what I
can.
want, but I don't want my taxes to go up.
Right.
Okay,
So
it's hard.
do the best we can.
That's
I
okay,
think
we do. We'll just do the best we can.
Okay. And we have a fire association liaison. Yeah.
I'll pass on any comments right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next item is my report, and I would simply urge my fellow commissioners to support and attend the firefighter snowflake dance on the 23rd. All right, next item is
23rd of
February.
February.
Although we may have some snowflakes tomorrow. Okay, current financial statements. Chief, you're up.
Okay, so.
I don't have a copy though.
Sure, come on. Okay, so the line that we said we've got to keep looking at, which we've got to keep looking at, is the repair and maintenance machine line. That's the line that consistently goes over. We're already over by 2,300. Engine 9's out right now, getting the service done. Engine 7 went out last week. Everything came out good. No major issues with 7. 9 is out. We do have a slight issue with engine 9, which we're not sure. One of the air compressors on the truck that does the brakes is having some issues. So we're looking into that issue along with the PM, the regular PM. They check the brakes when it goes out. This year, they're gonna take the tires off, check the rear brakes, see what's going on, see if we need to replace them or see if they're good. Hopefully they're good this year. We replaced those, I'm gonna say it was 3 or 4 years ago, so we should be okay still. It's just been, we're trying to replace, I mean, we've had quite a few storms in the last year, one being a couple weeks ago. Trucks are going out a lot more, especially with the storms, with the trees overhanging. Stuff gets banged up. We're trying to keep on top of it to keep the equipment up. If we had some damage done to some of the trucks. It doesn't pay to put it through the insurance. It pays more just because there's a $1,000 deductible for each occurrence. So it does make sense for us just to cover it. And we're trying to keep up on that. Also, we had some damage with the storms last year, which we're still trying to keep up on and trying to stay on budget. So that line, I anticipate going over more, and we're only in February, and we're gonna get to July, and we're over 2,100, so.
Right, I mean,
Or,
I
I'm
guess
sorry,
the,
2,300. So that's the line we gotta keep an eye on moving forward, but we're okay. In that line, there's 68,000. We did put into next year's budget for 80,000. 80,000 is more of a probably a closer number where we need to be, I think, next year. Just because if we take the last 3 years, our average in that line has been $100,000. So we're trying to keep it around 80. So I anticipate that line hopefully being an 80, 85, maybe 90, depending on what happens. I know we're having some issues with engine 3, with powering. The truck is old, it's rotted away, and we're trying to do as best as we can to get through. We should have the new truck within a year. So once
Right,
we have
and-
that, our maintenance costs should come back down a little bit, and we have to replace engine 9, which hopefully, we've talked about this. Hopefully, we're gonna order that truck sometime this spring.
Well,
So we
so-
can keep back up on target with the trucks.
and so you're talking about the 3-year average. I remember a big chunk of that, we put a big chunk of money into engine 3 to keep it on the road.
We did,
Over the
we
past
put
few
money
years.
into the engine 3, but we've done, it didn't pay to put some of the stuff, like a new drive shaft on, because we would have had a new yoke and everything else. It made sense to do a refurb unit to get us by, because to put some brand new stuff on it would have cost, it would have involved taking other things off, and we probably would have opened Pandora's box, and it would have cost a lot more. So we're trying to keep the truck together until we can get the new truck in service and then get rid of this truck.
But it's still gotta last another year.
It's got to last another year, so maintenance costs I see being up, along with engine 9, which we're still having issues with. As you know, we still have the issue with the generator. We put LED lighting on the truck, so we converted a lot of it to LED. We still have some more LED work to do on that truck to take the load off of the generator. But just to put it in perspective, like an LED light, scene light on the side of the truck, there's roughly, just to buy the light, we're in the area of about $1,000 to $1,200. So when we look at replacing 3 or 4 of them, plus labor, we're probably talking a $5,000 bill. So
Right, but
we're
Well, the
trying,
idea
we're
is to
trying
extend the life
to,
of
we're
the
trying to
existing generator.
Band-Aid everything across. If it's easier to change the lights out to LED than it is to replace the generator, because if we go to replace the generator, probably in the area of about $35,000. So we're looking to do small fixes to get us through, but we need to order engine 9 this spring, otherwise we're gonna have some big equipment bills coming, moving forward in the future. It's just how it is. I mean, engine 9's a 1995, so.
so that's.
Remember, this will
24
be
years
almost
old, right?
24, gonna be 25 years. And remember, engine 7 failed us a few times, and engine 7, we ordered the new engine 7, it was 23 years. So the truck's definitely due for a replacement. It's not gonna last us that much longer without incurring high bills. So either we pay, get a truck payment and get a new truck, be more efficient that way, or we take the money and we put it into repair. So.
Yeah,
you're
repairs are
repairing
cheaper
on
than a new
25-year
truck, but
on a
but you-
25-year truck, right, but.
But you're throwing
some
good money
years you
after
could
bad.
be, like, if we had to replace the generator, 35 grand into the generator. Once we do that, something else happens usually, and it goes downhill from there, so. The trucks did as what they were supposed to do. They're just, I mean, we're just about 25 years old, so it happens.
And so now, where we're in February and we've used up the repair and maintenance budget and gone, actually slightly over,
Right.
we still have
But
a
remember,
number of months to
and
go,
we're gonna-
including the
we're
rest
gonna
of the
talk about
winter.
this under my report, but we had a heavy call volume for last year, like we all know. We're gonna talk about it, and we started this year already with a heavy call volume. So we're gonna get into that, and you'll see exactly why that line is over, and the technical line is most likely gonna go over, just based on the calls and the amount of equipment we're using, the everyday supplies, speedy dry, tape.
Technical is like the
flares.
consumables.
Yeah.
It seems.
Yep, so, I mean, that's all understandable. I mean, when we budget, we're budgeting for like 450, 475 calls. Last year, we were at 758 calls, so we're extremely high, so. That's really the big line to look at, that and the technical line. We increased the technical line, I think it was to 42, so we added 4,000 for it, and basically, we're gonna need it to probably cover for next year. And we had 38 in that line to start with, we're down to 93, and that number's actually gonna drop because we're waiting for some stuff to come in. So I anticipate that line going over, but it's all easily justified.
Well, my view on that is that we need,
The other-
you need to have.
Well, we
you
don't
need
have
to
a choice, we
you-
don't
you
have a
need to
choice.
have
Some
the
of these
truck
things are out of
stopped.
our control. The other thing to look at is the overtime clerical line. We didn't budget any overtime. Right now, we're 2130 over, we're gonna need to go over even more because we need to catch up entering all the fire cards into the computer and everything else that's going on.
And that's also a function of call volume,
Correct. Absolutely.
because we need the additional.
We just don't have the
processing
amount of time to, on an average, if you do 30, 40 calls a month, you're okay. When we're doing 100,
Or 130.
130 this month for January, or plus, you're high. You're a lot higher. So we're gonna go over the numbers in a little bit, but that's the reason for that. I also have a line item transfer. We have a generator that needs to be replaced, and we need to replace it now. I'd like to, instead of hitting contingency, like that's the easiest thing to do. We have some money in the hose line, which I don't anticipate using this year. It's in the, if you flip your budget over, the capital non-recurring. We can take some of the hose money
Hello?
and purchase the generator, and if we need to, next year, when we do budgets, we can put the money back into that line.
How much is,
for hose.
how much are we looking for?
We're looking for $5,200. And we're gonna take it out of, how much money's in that? Hose, there's 55,623. We leave that money in there because when we do hose testing, we have some years that we go through quite a bit of hose fails. So just to put it in perspective, I think a length of LDH hose, the large diameter hose, the yellow hose, the feeder lengths we call them, one length is roughly, I want to say it's $800 or $900 a length. So, and then the smaller hose is $350 a length. So it's not like you're buying hose
It's not a
for
garden hose.
$75, $100, where hose is expensive. So if you burn through 30, 40 lengths, you'd be looking at a $30,000 bill just like that. So
So the
we
generator,
usually blow through, we usually fail. Last year, I want to say we failed like 12 or 14 pieces. None of them being the big hose, it was all the smaller hose, so we do that. And then as we deplete that, we usually go back and put money back into the budget. We had a year, I want to say it was what, 4 years ago?
I'm sorry, I walked out.
4 or 5 years ago, where
What?
we had a lot of hose fail, and we
Yeah.
needed to do emergency contingency. And I want to say it was like $35,000 or $40,000 to go out and buy hose because we were short.
can you
And hose has to get annually tested every year.
just, in layman's terms, tell us what happens when a hose fails and why it needs to be replaced? I mean, I don't think
When
you're
a hose
talking
fails,
about just
depending on what
springing
happens,
a
it doesn't really make sense to repair it because there is a life on hose. So some of the hose we have is from '95, some of the hose is from 2000, some of the hose we got rid of a few years ago, it was like from 89. So it doesn't make sense to repair it. Usually we cut the couplings off and throw it in the dumpster and get rid of it.
But if, I want to know what happens if it fails.
It gets
I mean,
red tagged.
I mean, no, in terms of, I would assume.
If a hose fails out of fire,
Right.
usually if it's LDH, if the LDH line breaks, somebody can get killed. Those hoses have tremendous amounts of pressure along with water coming out of it. So an LDH hose, or large diameter hose, or 5-inch hose, every foot of that hose holds 1 gallon of water. So when we lay 1,000 feet of hose out, it's 1,000 gallons just to fill the hose. So, and it's under pressure. So let's say it's under pressure at 75 psi. When that breaks, it's like in the movie, the hose will flop around. And 5-inch hose, 1.5-inch hose, 2.5-inch hose, when it breaks, it can swing by, and the coupling can kill you. When 5-inch hose breaks and you're standing right there and it breaks, you're lucky if you walk away.
I mean, we're not talking about springing a leak. We're talking about a
we're
rupture.
it springs a leak and it'd be a geyser or go up 100 feet in the air, no problem.
Yeah.
You'll know it.
Do hoses last, again, depending on how much use and weather and everything else, but how long do they usually last?
It depends. So we had brand new hose, we had a fire, we laid it down, somebody came over, tried to drive over, got stuck on it and broke the hose and had to shut the line down. So the hose at that point, you throw away.
But without
How long does it
accident,
last?
Yeah, usually.
It all depends. Sometimes it will last you 15 or 20 years. Other times it may last you 10, depending on the use.
And if it's like really cold weather, does that?
Cold weather,
Shorten
we
the life.
went through this at the last year at the Inwood fire. The hose actually froze in the tube, so we had to break the ice in the hose to put it into the truck just to get it back here. And then all the hose had to get retested. I think we lost 2 or 3 lines because it expands past its point and it's already stressed, so it had to be replaced.
And you test them by putting air pressure
Every
through
year.
it?
No water.
Water pressure.
Yep.
There's a testing company that comes in.
Oh, it comes in and does
Yeah,
it?
it's
Third-party
an
testing.
annual expense.
I want to say it costs like $11,000 to test all the hoses.
And if you're here when they do it, they've got the hoses laid out from one end of the parking lot to the other, for the testing. But it's
We have somewhere in the area, and it sounds like a lot, but when you break it down, you start putting it on the truck. We have in the area about 40,000 feet of hose. So
plus some of it is spare.
we have to have
You
spare
need to have
hose.
spare, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Thanks.
But that's why it's. There's no hard, not like the tires. There's no hard date where you gotta take it out of service.
they recommend replacing it after. I don't have the exact date, but they have a recommended date after so many years to replace the hose.
But the point is, we gotta test it every
Gotta
year.
test it.
Yeah, as long as it passes, we'll keep it in service because they're certifying that the hose has passed its certification and it's okay for fires.
But the other thing that happens in what we had this a year ago with the fire in the extreme cold is fittings break or bend or
Yeah, we had
Fittings
we
in the
had
hose, fittings on the
well,
trucks.
we had brass fittings on the truck actually expand. The ice, it was so cold. As soon as they would shut the water down, it would instantly freeze into couplings, and we had 1/2-inch brass actually expand and crack. So it takes a lot of pressure to do that. I can tell you that. I've never seen it, but
So we don't see it again.
hopefully not. Okay.
Okay, anything else we should?
So do you want to make a motion for the $5,200?
How much is the generator?
$5,200.
I mean, that's the entire amount? Of the
Yeah, it's like
cost?
51 change, so we'll move 5,200.
And where's the generator going?
It goes on the heat trailer.
What's the heat trailer?
We have a trailer that has a heater on it, but we use it for other things. For if we need power at a scene or we need power somewhere else.
Okay.
It's a generator that we use. We also have other generators that we provide sometimes to the public if they have a life safety or life-threatening illness going on where they need dialysis hooked in and they need this. We'll try to see if we can help them and provide them with a generator so they can get by without power.
Emergency basis,
That was
okay.
very much appreciated during the last storm.
Yep.
What was it, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
3 weeks ago? A month ago? A year ago? There were a lot of residents that needed generators, and it was very helpful because it got so cold.
Okay, so line item transfers require commission approval, and then it goes to the Board of Selectmen and then Board of Finance.
You get it first, and then you get it.
Um,
What's it coming out of?
It's coming out
Line
of,
item transfer.
it's coming out of HOST.
Oh, thank you.
It's coming
That was
out
a
of
discussion
capital,
post.
capital non,
Okay.
yeah, that's fine. It's coming out of capital
Got it.
non-recurring,
Thank you.
and going into,
Okay,
um,
thanks.
yeah, where's it going to, Sean?
Technical.
It's going, okay. All right, so I would entertain a motion to approve the line item transfer in the amount of $5,200 from capital non-recurring hose to technical.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so now I can sign it. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the chief's report. So
Okay, so if we look up at the screen here, sure. So let's go last year. All right, that's it. All right, so if we look, these are the last 4 years, but last year was our heaviest year by far. We were at 50 calls for last year at this time, and our year ended up at 758 calls. To date, right now, we're at 143 calls. We are showing right now on that 186% increase from last year to this year to date. So our call volume is up drastically from last year, and last year we had our heaviest year. So we started out where we're hoping it was a normal year, and then with the storm and just being busy, our numbers have rocketed.
Do you know if at this point last year you had a storm?
We didn't. We had we had 2 nor'easters that both hit in March.
Okay. And you got about 100 calls from the storm?
We got about 100 calls.
The ice
Yeah.
storm. So you asked about the ice storm last?
I think we got less than 100 calls a
Okay.
couple weeks ago. But last year we also had snow and other things, so we're about balanced where we were last year, with the exception of the storm.
Right.
And now with the snow and the ice, the bigger thing is the ice tomorrow. What we're gonna do come tomorrow.
Good times.
Great. So. Okay, next slide.
Sean, you know, people have asked me, how come we still have wires coming down when they see the utility cutting trees all over town? Can you shed any light on that? I mean, are they coming down in the areas where trees have
We
been
had
cut? Do you think? I know it's an anecdotal
we
answer.
probably had 30 or 40 services ripped off of the house at the last storm, where it's on private property,
So
the
they're not-
trees are coming down.
They're not
They-
trimming that.
No, that's up to the homeowner's responsibility to trim those trees.
We did it last week.
There you go. So this is the
Highly
chart.
recommend it.
This is the chart from the last 4 years. Last year being 2018, which is yellow at 758. The year before that was our biggest year that we had at 521. And then 485, 347 was a light year, a really light year. But you can see the steady incline that we've been having. So we were hoping to be around that 475 mark this year. With the storm already making that, we're probably gonna be over 500.
I mean, my recollection is the hurricane and superstorm years were still under 500 total calls.
No, the hurricane years, we were just under 600. So we were like 580, 560. But last year 2017, with really no major storms, we were at 521 calls. Okay, you wanna go to the next slide? Go to the next slide?
It's just over hours.
So we don't have the hours. for this year yet because they're not entered, but just, once again, to show you the hours over the last few years that the guys that put in, these are just incident hours, time on the scene, not time back at the firehouse or anything else, so you can see what's required and what's going on. So when we look at the budget, when we look at all these numbers, these are our indicators that basically reflect on our budget and why the increase and everything else.
And we say it every time we look at the stat, you just mentioned it, but that $7,000 is just on scenes,
Correct.
just at incidents. It does not include the time you spend back at the firehouse
Correct.
with the follow-up work, which could be almost as long. You know, major fire, you got a lot.
Even just with the storm we had a standby crew here for the duration of the storm. I want to say that storm was like 36 hours or 40 hours long, and we had people here. And we had people take off from work on Monday. Storm hit on a Sunday, we had people off.
Listen, if it's 10 firefighters who are on standby for 36 hours, that's 360 hours.
And
All right, which is, you know, that's not reflected in those numbers, so.
no.
And it may have come up before, but as a newbie,
Yep.
I would urge you to try to get these numbers out to the general public. You know, maybe in the bulletin that that the town publishes, maybe
We'll
on
make
the
space
website.
in the newsletter.
Okay.
Coming up, we
Good.
can do that for this one. Yeah.
Because I just think that.
February sailed, that ship sailed, but March,
No, I mean, there's a deadline on Friday for the next,
wow.
I know, I have it fast.
I do it too.
I mean, I just think that if you can put this stuff out, then,
Wow.
you know, I know you all are doing a huge amount of work, and I will be honest and say that before I got on Board of Finance and started coming to these meetings, I didn't realize how big an increase it was, and there's always this, you know, how many fires are there, and it's not fires.
No.
And I think if we can put it out every month so that they can see it, then
It's
you
on the
get a less
website
push.
every month.
But they gotta go to the website, and they almost
Right.
all read
Yep.
that.
But, which is
Absolutely.
why when we go to the budget presentations, why we, you know, whenever we're in front of any of the town boards, we talk about the call volume.
Those
Yeah, no,
meetings-
but I think
those
I
meetings
No, no,
are-
I
And
understood.
those meetings are, let's face it, a cure for insomnia.
Well,
you
I know.
But I think having it in the news.
But it's also-
No, really, I mean, you know, the newsletter, you know, he's right, that goes to every household every month, and it's
And there are gonna be
good
people
space.
reading it going,
It
oh
may
my
be an
God,
interesting
really?
call that you had that month that was, you know, something that you did that was a good thing, because I don't think people know the good stuff.
I don't think people,
That
I don't
sounds
think
like
the
a movie,
average
but-
person understands that
Right.
you provide a generator to someone who needs it
Right.
in life-saving situations. I don't think, I will admit publicly that I was ignorant, that, you know, you told me when a basement flooded, you have to go out and check on it. I don't think the average person out there knows that, and I think the more you can get those numbers out, the less pushback you'll have on, you know, what you're doing, which is great work, and it should be out there. And again, I don't want to put extra work on you, but if it's stuff that you can do and put it out there, I just think it helps the
And the
cause.
fact that they're all volunteers.
Right. I mean, it's just
I was gonna
amazing.
say, there's only good stuff.
Exactly.
Right. There can
I
only be
know.
good stuff.
There's good stuff
You
and
know,
great
it's the
stuff.
Woodbridge
That's it.
volunteer. People do not believe, you know, they call up and they don't understand. They're volunteers? Oh, well, they get something. No.
And I just don't want you to be in a position where people don't understand what you're doing. When it's hopefully easy to get it out there.
Okay, apparatus report, we basically talked about. The second one out last week, came back, it was pretty good. 9 is out, we have some issues with 9, hopefully it's not gonna be anything that major. Just to put it in perspective though, like a lube oil and filter, change the oil, new air filter, lube up the truck. We're in the area about, I mean, you take your car for an oil change, you're looking at $29.99 or $39.99
Not with
for the
synthetic.
Superior, right? With synthetic or $59,
Yeah,
right?
right.
We're looking at like a $1,500 oil change or with oil and lube and everything else. So it's quite a lot. So when we look at our repair maintenance line, that's where it jacks right up pretty quick.
Just drive it to Jiffy Lube. It's-
Yeah.
Can I be there when you do? I want to see the guy's face.
We take, some of the trucks take 40, 50 quarts of oil, where your car takes
Wow.
about 6.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's quite a bit. And then the filter is not your little filter or filters.
And it's probably special oil as well, right?
Well, it's not the oil you're putting in the
Right,
car, but something
exactly.
similar to that.
Yeah, wow.
And again, I'm assuming that just like my car, depending on how many miles you're driving and everything else, I mean,
Ours, it doesn't really go by miles. Ours goes more by hours because the truck doesn't drive that far, but the hours, like the pump, if you're at a fire, you're not driving, but the pump is constantly turning, which is the PTO, which is the engine driving the PTO,
Right.
which is turning the pump, which is, in theory, it's hard miles. So we change the oil usually, we change it once a year. So we're not changing every 3 months, but sometimes, we usually change it once a year, sometimes twice, depending on the use. I think last year we changed it twice just based on the usage of the trucks. Some trucks get used more than others, so we do that.
But everything on that truck basically everything runs off the motor.
you need a good motor.
So whether it's the generator or the
The pump.
the
On engine
generators,
2, you got
pumps.
the pump, you got the generator, you got the compressed air foam system. There's 3 drive shafts on that truck, and they'll be running
Rescue trucks running the
the Edkis tool
AMKIS tools.
and the
off of-
generator.
Off of power takeoff.
Yep. So,
Yeah, we did it that intentionally because they're better and more powerful. I mean, in terms of the rescue tools, they work better than battery powered or a generator integral to the unit. Whereas this way they plug in and they've got that much more power, so the job gets done that much better, and quicker, and efficiently.
okay.
Okay.
So that was basically apparatus report. Dispatch, we're gonna say that, yes? Yes? Oh, yeah. Radio system upgrade, I had a meeting last Thursday night. The system looks, a lot of the civil work started. It's not complete yet. The civil work at the AT&T Tower on Litchfield Turnpike. The pad is poured, conduits in, they're waiting on the generator up there to come in, and once they have that, they'll set that along with the cabinet for the radio. RWA, the water tank, they ran into some ledge up there where they had to pour some concrete. There was a change order there, but the generator is up, the propane tank is in. We're waiting on the radio equipment, the antenna, and the wiring for that. Oak Lane, they ran a bunch of conduit. Propane tank is on site, it's not set yet, and they're waiting for the generator to come in, and once they have all that, then they're gonna start doing, hooking all that stuff up, and hopefully we're on track to turn the system on probably and test it in June. We want to test it in June for a couple different reasons. One, it's going to be ready then, and 2, we want the leaves on the trees so we can take the worst case scenario when we test the system.
On a
We
rainy
test the
day in
sy-
June?
If we test the system now with no leaves on the trees, we're obviously going to get better coverage. When there's leaves on the trees, it has to penetrate more, so we want to do it when there are leaves on the trees. So we're looking sometime probably in June for that, and that's what the schedule dictates. We are moving forward with it. We're on an analog system now. We are going over to a digital system, which is gonna give us better coverage. Even when we spec'd it on an analog system. We, since then, moved it all over to digital, so we're digital capable, which is gonna give us better coverage and better voice on the radio. The mobiles and portables that we have, they're all capable of being flashed. They're all digital capable, so that's good. So we don't have to replace any of the portables or mobiles at this time.
They need new cards or something to go into that?
No, it's basically a computer, it's a computer they plug into, it's a port, and they plug onto the side of the radio, and it's a programming, and the program shoots it into the radio, and it programs the radio that way.
Okay.
So, that's gonna be happening, and that's about it for the radio system. And Engine 3, the three of us are flying out on Wednesday to go down to E1 to Ocala to have a 2-day meeting down there. We'll be back Friday night. We leave Wednesday afternoon from home Friday night.
Who's going?
Myself, Jim Code, and Paul Konworski. And we'll be home Thursday night. This is for
Jim's-
the pre-con
Jim's the
meeting.
chief engineer.
Correct. So this is for the pre-conference on the new engine to go over every nut, bolt, and everything else before they start building. It's common. Okay? Basically all I have.
Okay.
Oh, we do have, once again, it is our 90th anniversary. They got together March 14th, 1929 when they started. April 11th? They incorporated, and we're coming up on, next month we'll be coming up on exactly 90 years. So we have some stuff planned, as you can see in the back over there. There's a lot of history, a lot of pictures, old photos, news articles. The old firehouse was dedicated December 10th, 1929. We have the actual dedication program for that.
1930.
No, I'm sorry, 1938, December 10th, 1938. And we are working together with Amity. Amity, what do you call it, video?
Yeah, the advanced video
AV,
class.
Yeah, the advanced video class, the AV class, and they're gonna be doing a documentary of the history. So we met with them today, we met with the head teacher today. And we're actually gonna be creating a board that shows the history, and it's gonna be posted somewhere in the firehouse of where we started and where we are today. So it's good, it's all good.
Seems like, well, my first question is, what do you want from us as commissioners? What can we do other than support whatever you have planned, which we will do?
Okay. At this point, not much, we're still in the planning phase, so.
Are you gonna do anything on either of those 2 days, March 14th or April 11th?
We are thinking about it, or thinking about maybe getting the guys food the Tuesday night. They both fall on Thursday nights, so we might do something on the March 12th when the guys are here. Maybe do something, or April 11th, which is gonna be April 9th. So we'll figure something out, and we'll go from there.
I also, maybe we should have some sort of exhibit at town hall, not just here, but where, more people will see it at town hall.
Or the library.
The library.
Well, if you're putting together a display or a board,
We're gonna have actually a couple boards, we're having a couple boards made up, we're gonna display them at the dance this year in a couple weeks. And then they'll be available for
They
different
move
events.
to different places.
Right.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
We could do that.
The other thing I just want to mention is that the Park Association is having their 90th anniversary this year too. So I don't know if there's something, any events you have planned that would make sense for them to, be celebrated together.
1919 was a busy year.
1929.
1929.
It was a busy year.
That would be 100 years.
Yeah, it's a math challenge sometimes.
That's all right.
Okay. Next item is the activity report.
We covered it on
Covered
this.
Okay.
Right, Joe.
And next is the fire marshal's report.
Best part of the meeting.
I always let them that way.
This looks like we accomplished so much. 43 inspections last month.
34 inspections, 5 consulting, 1 tank removal, and 3 investigations. One of the investigations was an alarm problem at Beecher. We had a minor fire at 8 Hampton, and we had a little accident at 3 Tumblebrook in the basement where somebody received glass in the eye from an explosion.
Small explosion?
Small.
Oh, no damage, structural damage to the building?
No.
Okay.
You want to call them the entities that came out for that explosion?
We had the Officer of State Fire Marshal, Bomb Squad, DEEP, and EPA came out to assist, till we figured out what was going on at the house.
Anybody have any like hazmat exposure?
No.
Well, you mentioned EPA.
Well, we didn't know what we had early on. They didn't know, and I'm not a chemist, I don't know what they're doing, you know, what he's doing, so. DEP has, their emergency response team has chemists on it. Bomb Squad. So,
And then,
we reached out for help and,
State Fire Marshal
How fast do they
explosives.
come?
EPA was pulling up as we left. That was a few hours later, but everybody else was there within an hour,
Yeah.
within the first hour.
Good.
And some of those guys are, I mean, half hour away, so
Yeah,
it's.
Oh, yeah.
That's-
Yeah, they can live anywhere, because that was a holiday that day. It was Martin Luther King Day. So nobody's working.
That was the day after the storm.
Yeah, it was also the day after the storm. So the road conditions weren't great.
So that's a pretty good response from,
Yeah.
from the state, yeah, okay. Anything else of note?
Who's Antonio's?
I don't know, I haven't heard anything. I
I'm looking
signed
for
off.
it.
I said last month, I signed the
Yeah, I know.
liquor permit, and I haven't heard anything.
That's why I'm asking.
And I get the lady in the cleaners next door ask me every time I go in there.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can ask her. She'll have.
Now, she knows less than me, she's getting her information from me.
Is the Willows all back up and running now, or are they?
No.
Really?
As you face the building to the right, second floor, it's been sheetrock, the sprinklers are up and running, but there's no occupancy as of last week. You know, they gotta paint now, put the floor down and all that. And then the first floor wasn't even sheetrock when I was there Thursday. But there's no patients on the first floor. That's, upstairs is the patient rooms.
Do we have a rough
15
damage
rooms.
number for that?
There's like 15 rooms in that corridor there that are empty right now.
Yeah, so there's the damage, then there's all their lost income.
Lost
That's
income, yeah.
Okay, any other questions for the fire marshal? All right. Next item is executive session with regard to pending claims. So I would entertain a motion to go into executive session with commissioners and the chief.
So
Liaisons
what if it's the union grievance?
are not inclined to stay, so that's fine.
So moved.
For a second?
Second.
So, that sounded like a lot of
All in favor? Did you do it?
No, all in favor?
Aye.